More Roma. Careful what you wish for. Someone said they wanted more Roma. You're going to get more Roma. So I thought we'd have some more of this bodywork stuff that went on this restoration, because it's not dissimilar on any coupe. These are the issues that you have, the areas that you have to work on, and the areas you need to check when buying them. So, you know, it's relevant in various ways. So I said I did the sills on it. We had a look at it in the last video. So that's the sills I took off. So, or rocker panels, as the Americans call them. But yeah, so that would go up on there like that. That's where that fits in there. That's your door kick plate with the lovely burr tone on it. And then under here, we have the little dimples where it all fits. And you can see here where we've got some rust in it. Now these actually weren't bad, but you know, the other side was a little worse, so it's decided to do the pair. So that was that. That's how that goes. And then we were looking at the drain hole. So this is our little drainers that we have. So all of this was replicated, and that's our section. So you can see the shape here, you know, so you've got quite a few folds in here to do. So a little bit awkward making these, but you know, quite doable. And this is the detail where it goes onto the A-post area. So that's where it joins onto there. So that's the sills we put on Roma and why we put the sills on Roma. And then I did door skins as well. Now, again, you know, we have to get these right. And we have to get this shape into it just to be right, you know, behind the door handle here where you put your hand in. It wants to sit right, it wants to be the right shape, you know, follow around through here. So I've made tooling up to make those. And that is our shape. Now I don't want to rub it on it and scratch it, but you can see what we got. That's our outer door skin that I took off. Here's our detail, the door handle detail, and obviously you've got to have this lozenge shape, reminiscent of the shape on the grille really. And then how we secure our door handle there and there. And then folds, we've got this swage line through here, which has to match here and then join up with the wing there. And then you've got this fold in here, then another return to allow the trim to go on, and then the window scraper. So when you fit this, this has to go on, and you have to allow these little dimples here, these little recesses. That's where your clips go in to hold that trim on. So they have to have a little gap there. You have to remember to have them in there if you're making a door skin. And these go all the way along. So that's that. Shows how it folds round. Shows how much shape there is in it. You can see it's quite a lot of shape in the edge of them. So we have to roll it first before I put any of the actual folds into it and do any of these details. And there we have the inside. And we see the Positano yellow, which was the original colour for Roma, which is a lovely colour and was the colour of the car the chap's father had. So the guys that owned this car, when they were kids and lived in Italy, their dad had one when it was new, and it was Positano yellow, 67, and that's what they wanted to do. Wanted to replicate Dad's car. So this was the only 67 that was actually roadworthy for sale they could find at the time, and it was actually white when they bought it. But when they found out it was originally Positano yellow, and obviously with the black interior, which is what their father's car had, it had to be. They had to have it. And it was going to go back to Positano yellow, but sort of at the last minute, a change of decision to something maybe perhaps more sophisticated. But anyway, a different colour. But you know, there's nothing wrong with Positano. I think it's a wonderful colour. But anyway, a change was made, and that's what's happened. So the reason for door skins, as you can see, is we had a bit of rust in here. So you can see we've got the rust in here. It all sort of built up in here. You can tell this is off a 2 litre, and the reason you can tell it is because of these trim holes. So these trim holes are where this trim lines up on the bottom of the door. So you have a 3-piece trim either side on a 2 litre. On a 2.4, the trim is not on the door, it's below it, and it's 1 piece all the way along the sill section. So it's a different thing, and so you won't have those holes on it. But you know, that's if you're making them, you can delete the holes or put them in as you want to, can't you? But yeah, so that's a door skin, and that's what you get. Now obviously most people will just let a bit in, won't they, around where the rust bit is, and just let a plate in. Well, I don't do things like that, I do them properly. So this got unpicked. unfolded it also, I can get exactly the right shape and the dimensions, so that when I fold it over the door skin, I had the right dimensions to do it. I had all the frames blasted. We'll get some pictures up of that. And so I, did a few repairs to the frame. Didn't have to do too much, thankfully. And then, made a door skin, fitted it, and so on. Quite a lot of work, but rewarding work. I like making these. And then I guess we should have a look at the inside of the door, and you can see where the return is. So this is what I'm talking about, this return that you have to fold over the inside of the door. And, we'll have a look at some pictures of this, but you have to get that return right. And of course, if you haven't got this return and it isn't a nice shape, quite often you see a join in them or something like that, and you know that it's had a little bit let in the bottom. Quite often people put a lower door skin in something, and you get a join on the inside here, which looks, telling of having a lower door skin, which is all right, but it's not the same as new skins, which is the better way of doing it. But yeah, so that's that. And we were talking about the sort of tub and the construction of these and the spider. So I've got a great little book we should have a look at, which really tells you about how the bodies on these are made. Now, it's about the coupe, but they share the same DNA, they share the same platform or a modified version of the platform, so it's good to look at that, and we can look at how that's done. So any FIAT Dino owner should own this book, copy of it, to understand how they're made and what we're dealing with here. So as I said before, these are sophisticated monocoque construction built with a mitre FIAT. They're not. That doesn't cheapen them in any way. Being made by FIAT. This is a construction method that the more exotic car makers like Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini, and in England, Aston Martin, they couldn't do that. They have separate chassis. They didn't build monocoque stuff. They couldn't do it that way. You needed huge amounts of tooling, proper size factories to do it. So their cars are bespoke. They're a different thing, they're handmade, which is, they're beautiful and wonderful for it. But, you shouldn't mix the two up. You've got to understand these are very sophisticated form of construction. Because they make Minis and Cortinas that way, doesn't mean it's a bad way to make a car. It means it's actually a really good way of making a car. Otherwise they'd still be doing it with separate chassis, wouldn't they? It's an economical way of doing it. Really good sort of crumple zones, crash resistance. They flex quite well, so they don't break. There's a lot to be said from there. It's a good way to do things, and they still make cars that way today. So if it wasn't right, they wouldn't be doing it, would they? So that's what we've got to take on board. But it does make them difficult to repair. It does. Yeah. A lot easier to repair handmade cars because they're handmade once, you can hand make it again. So this Maserati stuff, different way of doing it. Handmade, sheet steel, you can understand it very easy how it's done. But when we get into this, it's all stamped out panels. And as I said, they are, when we say they're coach built, it was a coach builder that assembled them. But we'll look at this book, it shows how they were made. They were made with modern construction methods with stamped out panels. So although they were assembled by hand, they were, proper panels that were stamped out and all spot welded together as they should be. So there's a degree of using a bit of lead in places to make them just, right and fit things up just right, But there's nothing wrong with that. That was the way to do things. They were made to exactly the same standards as everything else, and that's important. That's modern manufacturing at its finest. And I was talking about this to someone recently. If you think what it costs to make these, because you had to stop the production of other vehicles to make these. So when I say they were stamped out panels, they didn't build a factory just to make FIAT Dinos. They would have had to change all the tooling over and stop making FIAT 850s for how many days or how many weeks a year, just stamp out panels for these. Now that would cost a lot of money to stop production of the more prosaic cars that they were selling lots of. So, to actually stop that machinery, change all the stamping dies, and then start them up again, that's an expensive business. So it wasn't, an undertaking that was without significance for FIAT. They cared about these, and they spent a lot of money on them. There was an important thing to them. So, that's what you get when you buy one. You get all of that in one go. unless you buy a rusty one. Then you get all the joys of Fiat ownership and all the costs of Ferrari ownership. And yeah, it's just throwing your hat in the ring, the purchase price then, you know, they really are, yeah, don't buy a rusty one. Try and buy the best you can, or one that's been done well. But yeah, it's, yeah, anyway, stop joking about that. Right, let's have a look at book club, eh? Find this book.